You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is David Smith, Senior Analyst for the Morgan Report, which you can find online at silver-investor.com. Welcome to the show, David.
Good to be speaking with you again, Jim.
You have an interesting analogy about the price of gold and silver. You feel that in the near future, we're going to see prices start to rise again for those two precious metals. And once they start going up, we won't be looking back.
I really believe, and I think this year, kind of taking a risk in saying this, but I think this year could very well be the inflection point where we see the obvious end of the 3-year cyclical bear market in the precious metals and the miners, and we see a complete turnaround, which is going to be shocking, and will start the movement toward new all-time highs and then above that in the metals. And I think the analogy that comes to mind for me is a couple years ago I fished the Dean River out of Bella Coola, a very world-famous fly fishing stream for salmon and steelhead. And what was really impressive, I didn't do that well on the trip, but we went across one day the bay to a river on the other side, which is a very large river in its own right, that had for many years been totally blocked by a massive log jam that I was told that was about 30 feet high. And one winter that log jam blew out after having been there for many years, and there wasn't a single log there. You would never imagine that this huge river could have been held up by all these logs. They were all gone. And I think we're going to be looking at what I would call a log jam breakup moment at some point here. One of the things about this, for example, if you were betting on when that log jam was going to break, it would probably be during the winter when there's a lot of rain rather than in the summer when the river's real low. So I think we have to look at this breakup moment for gold and silver. When is that most likely to occur? And in my view, it's most likely to take place during the fall season, which is traditionally all sorts of events that can happen in the stock market that historically in the October time period, for example, when the stocks tend to really retreat substantially. And we've had a 5.5-year bull market in the overall stock index, and the indications are that at some point we're going to see a pretty large break here, a loss of confidence event. So I would watch for a trigger that would have the effect of causing much higher gold and silver prices, a severe drop in the Dow, a sustained move in the U.S. dollar index that stays well below 80, possible major geopolitical event in the Middle East, which is already going on now, but something that becomes even more severe than we've seen, and even, unfortunately, a possible major terrorist event in North America, something that really rattles people and shakes their big picture confidence.
Now, Goldman Sachs is taking a different point of view, but they've been saying this since the start of the year. They expect the price of gold to drop quite a bit because they say fears of inflation have been depleted.
Well, these major trading houses, have to realize that they have a dog in the fight here. They make a lot of money by shorting these metals markets, which is what happened this week. The prices run up, and then they sell heavily in paper metals into the rise and cause the prices to drop. And so they're making money on both sides of the market. They go long after a severe drop, and they go short at the top. And so they're talking their book, and people that pay attention to them, if they really think that they're going to be giving us any advice that we can act on, I think that's naive to say the least. So I like to hear what they're saying, but I don't place much weight on it in terms of my being able to make money off of their pronouncements.
David, how are people feeling about the future for gold and silver? It's been a long slog, 3-4 years where they were expecting a big breakout, and yet it hasn't happened yet.
It really is, and I think even though prices are holding in here and we're still well above the lows that we had about a month or so ago, there's a sense of weariness, I think, even on the part of what we call perma-bulls. And when you finally have that point where just about everybody's given up and everyone that's said that, we're going to have a resumption of the bull market is discredited, that's when you have something happening, whether it's a spike low or just an awareness on the part of people feeling that it's never going to turn around. And at the same time, you have the bears doing the best they can to pound prices down to try to make new lows happen and keep them down there. And it seems like all is lost for the bulls. And when that happens, when the last bear has jumped on the bandwagon and the last bull has given up, that's when you have a turnaround. And sometimes you can see an island reversal, which we've talked about before on the charts. You can see prices refusing to decline in spite of the heavy short selling. and you see kind of a masters of the universe moment on the part of the bears where they think there's nothing can stop them, and that's really their point of maximum the ability that they can do to drop that market and then things turn around. And so I think my advice to people that really believe that this is going to happen is to hold on to your position, stay centered emotionally, stay healthy physically, continue to dollar cost average in lower prices into the physical metal. And if you're going to buy miners, just buy the very best ones into deep discount status and really, really have a test that is going to decide if you're going to buy any exploration stock that isn't well advanced or has something that really has enormous potential. And then finally keep a few dollars in dry powder just in case you get a chance to buy that spike low. If it does happen, it's going to be really, really hard to do so, and you'll have to be a believer. But that could give you an opportunity for some outstanding profits if we should see such an event.
Were gold traders disappointed the new Indian budget did not remove all the penalties for importing gold?
Just one more element that brings little sustenance to the bulls. However, you can be guaranteed that the continued movement in of illegal gold is going to keep on going more and more because that demand will be met either legally or illegally on the part of the demand on the part of Indian citizens.
David, what about people who are still watching platinum and palladium?
They're still maintaining their strength. Nothing has changed in terms of the fundamentals. The charts can be painted technically in the short term, but we keep seeing higher highs and higher lows, and so as long as we keep seeing that on an intermediate basis, looking at the weekly and monthly charts, more reliable than the daily charts, I think we're going to be seeing a continual reward for people on the long side in the PGMs for the next several years at least.
David, thanks a lot for chatting with us.
It's been good speaking with you, Jim. Have a great day.
You too. My guest has been David Smith, Senior Analyst for the Morgan Report, which you can find online at silver-investor.com. You're listening to HowStreet.com radio. Find us on Twitter at TalkDigitalNet. Comments can be sent to info@HowStreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.